Good evening and welcome to the E3 show of Nerds at Night, podcast episode 3. As always, I'm Kit Thunder DJ, joined with...
Fire 47.
All right. And if those of you didn't hear him, that's Fireheart 47. Sorry, folks, we're still trying to break about the mumbling into the mics thing. Anyway, on tonight's show, we are, as we just said, going to cover, most of some of the big announcements from E3. I don't want to beat everything into the ground. I mean, it's been almost a week now or whatever, so you guys, I'm sure, have heard everything about it. But I kind of wanted to do it like this, where you, as the wide-eyed, young, fetus of a gaming man, decide, with all your wide-eyed wonder if things were good or bad. And then I will tell you what the cynical old gaming bastard thinks. Mm-hmm. Sound good?
That seems like the plan.
All right. Well, then in that case, let's get this shit show on the road. So we'll start here. I'm pulling it up now.
Well, are we kind of just focused on 3-3, or did you want to mention Mighty Number 9 and its reviews seem to have hit?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. And we're not going to do the normal look at this week's releases because there's nothing. We warned you guys. We're going to try to limit that to when there's major releases or, games we thought were going to suck. And I believe on our very first show I asked the question, should we trust Mighty Number 9 with all the delays and all the problems it seems to have? And, well, from a lot of early reviews, the answer is no. No, we shouldn't have trusted it.
Good thing we didn't.
Right. Now, you saw the final boss fight, correct?
I saw a very short minute of it or two when we were at the flea market the other day. It really didn't look like much. It looked like a very standard boss, like one you do fight early on into the game. Certainly not final boss quality.
Right, and I guess since the whole idea is it's the number 9 robot fighting his 8 previous versions, you're kind of already built in to be, to be better than them if you're just getting progressively better with robotics. I mean, that's how electronics work in real life. And, a third generation iPhone is better than a first gen in technical specs, maybe not overall, but,
Right.
All right, but enough about that. Basically, yeah, we were right. It's a crap game by all accounts. I'm sure it has potential. I'm sure it has nice stuff. But if you want an old school game with a great retro feel involving big robots, get yourself Kirby. The new Kirby game we talked about, Planet Roboto. That game is that game's got it going on. There's a few problems with it. I mean, I'm not calling it a perfect game by any means, but certainly
it's
easy
your
to.
standard Kirby game, but there's a lot of fun to it. As there always is with Kirby.
There is. I mean, I love the robot mechanic. I love how it doesn't. If you have an ability loaded as Kirby, it doesn't carry over to the mech automatically. You got to go find an ability for it. And, the foreground to background shifting gets to be a little much. And the controls could be a little bit tighter, especially when you're in the mech. But
yeah,
you take what you can get, good and bad, with that kind of scenario. And overall, it's a very good experience. So let's jump into E3. And we're just going to go down the list here of all these so-called press conference highlights, and we're going to start with Electronic Arts. So, what did you think of Electronic Arts' presentation? What stood out to you?
Not sure too much actually stood out because as always they have their sports coverage and things like that, which is a complete bore fest to me, and I don't pay too much attention to it. But they announced things like Titanfall 2 with a pretty cool trailer. They've got a single player campaign in that game as well now. It seems kind of like they're focusing on like a partnership not mechanic as much as just a focus on it in the single player thing between the Titan and the pilot, which seems kind of interesting. Gameplay looks nice. Might make that one worth picking up finally.
Maybe. Now you mentioned Star Wars briefly. What do you think about it? Because this is EA's really got to from a cynical gaming point of view, EA's really got to come out swinging with the next Star Wars game. They alienated a lot of people by basically making it a multiplayer only.
Yeah, with Battlefront.
Right.
And that actually did not look that good. I don't want to say didn't look good, but the future doesn't look that good because they didn't show off pretty much anything. They just basically covered across all their various related game studios, like Visceral Gaming, I believe, and such, for some of their various things, but they never really put up anything that was like concrete new things, you know what I mean?
Well, that's certainly a down mark because Star Wars, when done right, Star Wars games are great. Problem is, they're not done right very often.
Right.
For every Knights of the Old Republic, there's
Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Well, not even that, because Knights of the Old Republic 2 wasn't terrible. It wasn't what they call it, Masters of Terracasai or something like that, the fighting game they tried to make.
That's a lot farther down.
For the longest time, the best Star Wars game was Lego Star Wars. Retro fans, don't kill me. I am aware Super Star Wars was a great game, but I'm talking in the modern era. And Battlefront games, the original Battlefront games were great too, but, that was a very limited idea. It wasn't really canon to the films. I mean, the best way to really play through the Star Wars movies was the Lego games.
Right.
So, anyway, let's move on from EA.
Yeah. Overall, solid conference. Nothing too much that was like any sort of cringeworthy moments. None of that. Overall, pretty solid.
I do notice they're still really trying to get their hooks in as deep as they can in what they call small games, which is basically their way of saying, we bought an indie game, so now it's not really an indie game anymore. And this feeds into my kind of final say on...
Oh, yeah, that was Feed. That one looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
It and Unravel.
Yeah.
Something like that, the little yarny guy.
Yep.
They look cool, but yeah, you're kind of right. Like, once you're at that stage where you get this big name right behind you, it doesn't really...
You're not an indie game anymore.
Indie. Right.
And if you're not going to go big, it's over. Now, that all ties into my final point, my kind of old gaming grump point of view on EA, which is, like, look, we have the sports you want. We're not going away. That's their answer to everything is, they could take a dump on everything else, and as long as they put out a FIFA game or a Madden game with prettier graphics and updated rosters, everybody will just, come all over themselves, and that's the end of it.
All their fans will,
right.
jump on it. And,
right, because that's their moneymaker. So it's sad to say that thanks to the notion of no competition, EA is going to be around forever doing this to us. So don't get too excited about anything they put out, because they can nerf it to save money and just do those incremental upgrades to keep you coming back, because where are you going to go for real soccer? What are you going to do? You're going to play Pro Evolution Soccer? Huh? You're going to act like you're from out of the country? You're going to play yourself some Pro Evolution? No, you're not. You're going to play FIFA. If you're an American soccer fan, you're going to play FIFA. That's just how it is.
Football.
Right. If you're an American football fan, you're going to play Madden. Right. There's nothing else out there. What? You're going to get another copy of Blitz the League if they ever do another one?
Right, or backyard football.
Right, exactly. So as long as they got those two sports, which combined probably make up the most amount of sports gaming fans in the world, they're fine, and that sucks. Right. So let's get off EA before I get angry, because they're also killing UFC. But that's we take a whole episode to discuss.
So next up on the conference list was Bethesda. And they kicked off immediately, announcing
Immediately?
Immediately.
You said immediately.
Whatever. Putting up a new trailer for Quake. Quake game in the works. Which looks, I think it was Quake Championship or something along those lines. It looks really cool.
How do you not know what your assignment was? You're the one who watched like all weekend. I know it's been a week. I'm just giving you shit.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of time where it's, no titles.
Now, here's where we get the first mention of something I'm going to already say I'm over and done with. All of this crap about VR. Goggle gaming. The gaming industry learns nothing. Watch Mojo's got a great top 10 video of like useless peripherals. Like the activator or the interactor ring and the power glove and all this other stuff that's supposed to enhance games and does nothing. I mean, what's VR really going to add? Oh my God, you have a true first-person experience. Yes. And you look like an idiot doing it. Did anybody remember the Virtual Boy? That's all I'm going to say. Virtual Boy, anyone?
But that's kind of the thing. I think like the Virtual Boy was not in the era that it was needed to be made. They tried way back at a time that it wasn't, where technology wasn't at a time where it was work.
Technology, what a lot of people don't know about the Virtual Boy is to do what they call red, green, blue RGB screens were possible back then. That was brutally expensive. So they went with just red because it was the easiest color of the three to have different shades and tones of that you could actually recognize. Yes, on that level you're right. If it was done now, they could do it now and they could do better with it because the notion is there that they could have full color screening, they could do this, that, and that kind of is
the
what
track motion thing.
right, and that's kind of
like,
what VR is, but it's still at the end of the day, it's still just a fad for Game Boy, or, gamers to be happy, for Game Boys to be happy, and it's I'm not gonna lie, I fall for some of this stuff. I fell for the PS TV.
Right.
I used it for like a month, and then the first time a game skipped on me trying to remote it just to be upstairs, I said, "The hell with this."
Yeah, and you started carrying it up with you because you had the cables for it.
Right. It was just easier to swap my PS3 upstairs
VR is
out.
something I wouldn't say jump right into, like throwing all your money on investing, but like once it's out, has a couple iterations or so, if it even gets that far. Like once it's made its improvements after its kind of ground stages, it might be worth something just to check out for the gimmick. Maybe bust on it.
For the gimmick. Okay, let's review what you just said.
Look at the
okay?
Wii.
Yes,
that
exactly.
was sold on the gimmick.
And
anyway.
what happened to it? How many times do you and I go into flea markets or go into resale shops and there's a big stack of crap shovelware Wii games and there's a big stack of Wiis that nobody can get rid of anymore?
Right.
Come on. Come on. You know what? I'm calling your argument right now. Game over on that argument right there. Right there. Do. Game over. I mean, that being said, I know me. I'll pick up at least one VR game, or I'll try one VR game at some point because you have to.
That was kind of my point I was trying to make. Like once it's established as a thing, bust on it. Give it a little shot.
Well,
I would never just sign off or push it off completely without at least checking it out because it's just the latest craze that's going to die off in a while, but it still seems like it'd be fun to check out.
Now, the first thing, going back to the first thing you mentioned about Bethesda, you said Quake. What was your impressions of it? Because Quake's one of those series that has a special place in my heart, so maybe I'm not going to be as grumpy on this one.
Well, Quake wasn't something I got quite as far as into, but I played, I guess you could call it the sister series, more or less, Unreal Tournament, thanks to you, as
Fair
far
enough.
as, tournament-based gaming is like that.
Right.
So if someone pulls out a good, unique arena-based shooter like Quake, bringing it back and does it right, I'm all for it. Because I have been sincerely missing an Unreal Tournament-esque game for years now.
Now do you think that can survive in a world with Overwatch going strong?
Potentially, depending on how strong it does.
I know we've got a long time. I know we're going to be in 2017 before this comes out.
Right.
But
that's got some time before it has to come out. Overwatch, while fun, could need some improved amount of game modes and things like that. There's some more things Overwatch could do to make it last longer. Hell, it's already been a couple days since I've actually sat down and played it.
That's true, but in all fairness, we've had a lot going on.
Yeah, though we have been busy, but even still, I kind of got back into, or I shouldn't say got back, but got into Fallout 4 and has been killing all of my time, my spare time. But speaking of Bethesda, since we're talking into Fallout real quick, the next thing Bethesda had announced was a bunch of new DLC for Fallout 4, including building your own vault, as well as expanding some of the contraptions. There's elevators, there's conveyor belts come in. There was this funnel where you could throw objects into it and it would funnel objects down into the conveyor belt system. Seems interesting for all the excessively creative people out there.
Right. The idea that you're gonna be able to have these mods in a console game. Which,
and then the mods, yeah, that was.
I'll believe it when I see it on how they're really going to do it and what they're really going to allow, for the sake of not breaking the game. But even if it's a good quarter of what they're doing in the PC world, it'll be a great thing because that has been the biggest holdback for people
on consoles.
On console is you're stuck with the game out of the box, and on PC, simple things. If you take the homesteading aspect of that game seriously. And, on PC, what's the first thing you see people do? Well, I got the mod to have planter boxes, so my, little bit of space I have in some of these smaller homesteads isn't being taken up by trying to have enough food to feed everyone.
Right. I had that issue a lot down in Hangman's Alley and outside of Diamond City. I had to like quarter off a whole section just for food.
Right.
So yeah, things like, and I believe they also mentioned that eventually or soon, PS4 should be getting mod support as well, which
No, that's true. PS4 is going to get mod support for it and for the remastered Skyrim.
Right, that was their other big announcement, and yeah, Skyrim is getting fully remastered for the next gen or current gen, with mod support for both consoles coming in the future, I believe, or coming with it, one of the two. And just looking at the trailer, like with the comparisons, it looks really good.
Oh yeah, 4K support, all of it. And you know what? This is going to lead into what my final thought on Bethesda's was, which is, you know what they really are? They're that guy who waits for you to come out of your 10-day clean party at Narcocon or Alcohol, and just opens up his coat and goes, "Psst, I got some new stuff. I got some new stuff you got to try, man."
What are you buying?
Right, and then you're back in, and they know they got us.
Skyrim's
Skyrim's never going to die, and that's beautiful.
Not until 6, which I believe they mentioned was in the works. But
well, even if they go 6, even every now and then, it's just like there are still people, in spite of World of Warcraft, in spite of everything else, still boot up some of the old Warcraft games, still boot up Diablo 2. It's
or, people playing Morrowind and things
right.
like that.
There's still
there's always there's always going to be people playing the earlier entries of a series.
Exactly, and I think that's where Bethesda won this engagement. I think this is where they got to
dang it, dog.
they got to shove it up. They got to shove it up.
Yeah.
Activision a little bit right there.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they did really good. I can't.
Microsoft is up next.
Oh wait, no, there was a big other thing to mention. They ended on Dishonored 2 with the one thing I was gonna hate, or I wouldn't say hate, but disliked with Bethesda, was they really scheduled and structured the Dishonored 2 announcement in like a section for the ending really oddly. Like it first covered like a little bit of like camera flying through, like showing up some like close-up things. It wasn't gameplay. It was just like live in-action stuff or in-engine stuff. Seriously,
I'm being serious. Hey! You should know better than anyone. I could be serious and be a jerk, not mutually exclusive ideas.
But it made it seem like that was all they had at first, and then suddenly they pull into like a trailer, which then leads into some gameplay, or some like minor gameplay of them just walking through this minor city, which then leads them to going through a full like stakeout killing mission, and then I think leads to another one, and it just kept going and going like too long.
Well, you were a fan. We got to speed this up. We're halfway through or a little over halfway through our first half hour, so
right.
And we have to record these in sections because of the cheap program we use. So, final thought still stands. I know you were a big fan of Dishonored, so are you? Do you think that was one of those, really strong ways to end it, or do you think that was just them saying we got nothing else, so let's trot this out?
It did seem like they padded things out. It still looks cool. Nothing necessarily putting down Dishonored 2 and how it looks. They just could have structured it better as far as the showing goes. Okay,
well that still means you were overall impressed, not just the company doesn't have anything, which
True.
is what I thought about a couple of these companies. Which we'll get to that. So Microsoft's up next. Speaking of, I'm just gonna Microsoft always hurts. So, okay, big news. We're gonna upgrade the console. I can't remember the last time Microsoft or Sony halfway, or not even halfway through a console, I've said, you know what? Let's put out a slightly more powerful version of the same console.
I was going to say, it's nothing.
How about it?
It's nothing.
Exactly,
new.
that's the point.
It's not a surprise.
Exactly,
but I think the weirdest issue here is they announced for August we're getting the Xbox One Slim or X One S, which is a slightly smaller white Xbox. Looks pretty cool, give or take, but in scheduled for next year, 2017, they have an even better one coming out, Project Scorpio.
Yeah, it's no different than when they had the different versions of the 360. They had the arcade version that didn't have a hard drive and you couldn't add one. All you could use was memory cards. That was supposed to be for littler kids. And then they had the Elite, and then they had the, Elite plus the HD thing, and blibbity and dibbity. And it's just, that's Microsoft's MO. Microsoft still thinks these things are computers.
Yeah, they keep putting out a couple variations of models on them. It seems too many.
But
to just announce Xbox One S, and then at the end of their convention conference, put out an announcement for Project Scorpio for I think December of next year or something like that, or winter next year. it makes the Xbox One S announcement seem kind of moot. Like, oh wait, we got another one coming like just a year later. I'm just gonna wait. It makes it seem. It feels like it's already going to just hurt sales for the Xbox One S.
It's not for this reason. It's the same reason why the Xbox 360 Slim worked. It's the notion that people who waited to let all these systems, quote unquote, work the bugs out, feel safer buying a second revision. Model 2 Genesis sold better than the Model 1.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a true second revision, a heavily hyped second revision, it does pretty well, all things considered. It may not outsell the original, but it does cause a resurgence. It does hook in those people. It hooks in the hardcores, and it also hooks in the people who wanted to wait.
Right.
So that being said, to me, that's all Microsoft had is, look, we're going to pump up our systems. I mean, they have more announcements of games that are staples. Gears of War 4, fine.
State of Decay. Well,
State of Decay's got a sequel coming.
I never heard much of the first
It's a pretty good zombie game, but it's not great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know I'm going to take some heat for this, and you know what? Gears of War, not that great of a game.
I never played it.
It's a lot of repetitive crap for the third. It worked because it was that third. It was that first in a while, and first on the Xbox that I can really think of.
And it was
really hitting.
It was also early on when it was first coming out,
right? But
before the market got swamped with those.
Well, yeah, they were the one. That's what I was saying is they made that. They were the first on Xbox to do the third person shooting
based shooting.
Shooting model work, and then you had to sneak in through these areas where you have to stay in the light, and because if not, these bat things will come and attack you. It just got goofy, and then it got copied by everyone else. So by the time we got to the third one, it felt really stale. So it's just, I don't think Microsoft's got anything better in the pipe. They've got Halo and Gears of War, and that's it.
About the only like couple interesting things was one, this game called Scalebound, which, like, if I was going to mention like a couple games like Fusion kind of thing, it seems almost like a Drakengard thing because there's dragons that you fly with. We got a little bit. It was like a mix of Drakengard, Devil May Cry, and Shadow of the Colossus. Because you're like flying around with the dragon, you'll jump off or you'll use it for attacks, you'll climb up these giant-ass monsters, start hitting at them and things like that, and it's even like a multiplayer experience. So I think that'd be actually a lot of fun to check out. Kind of convinces me to want to check out the system, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else out that's like would make it worth it, but it almost seems like it to me. Like, especially if we both did. I think it'd be a fun multiplayer experience for both of us.
But let's move on from Microsoft. I still stand by my statement that
overall, not too much.
Overall, they got nothing else. They got their two core titles. They're going to try some new things because everybody announces a new thing. But
and they had a laughably awkward Microsoft or Minecraft live presentation, or not presentation, but like preview gameplay thing. Like, there was two people that came up to play it, and they were just so freaking freaked out, shy, and awkward. It was.
Oh yeah, but that's I don't count presentation because that's nothing. That's just life. You know what I mean? You can't really do nothing with this.
Yeah.
Now, here is up next is a reveal set that I was like 50-50 on, just basically right down the middle. So, and that's Ubisoft or Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce it. Of course, the first thing they hit with was South Park, Fractured Butthole.
Actually, no, that down there isn't how they list.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about their listing. I'm talking about, when you tell me, oh, hey, here's what they announced, what caught my attention was South Park. Was South Park the Fractured Butthole? They're doing the whole superheroes thing. It's going to be another RPG in the same vein as
Stick of Truth.
Stick of Truth, and
they've expanded on it. Like, now you can move around a bit of the battlefield or the environment, position yourself in sections, and some things will have blockades or something.
Right. They had a little bit of that in the first game, but they're going to expand it and make it. Yes, the tactical level.
No, in the original one, it was quite literally just turn based.
Well, yeah.
Now
I thought you could be behind something, but it's been a while. But yeah, the tactical aspect, either finally coming in or being expanded, is going to be nice. Obviously, the humor is going to be there. Everything you want from South Park, I'm in. It's just a done deal.
Looks great.
It's gonna be in my possession.
I think they covered how Cartman phrases your superhero origin story.
Yeah,
and it's basically you walked in and you saw your dad fuck your mom. And it's just like, and that was it. Like, it's just like, that's not an origin story or something shit like that. It already looks promising.
Yeah, and so it's South Park. That's an easy dinger. Now here comes the couple that I was like, really, and that is Watch Dogs 2. When we were talking about games to trust or not, Watch Dogs came up on that list as just such a disappointment when you considered everything we were promised versus what we got. So at this point, I'm not even caring because I don't trust them to deliver the game they show us because they didn't, and there's no amount of backpedaling they can do. Had what a 4-month delay.
I don't remember the delays.
A several-month delay.
At this point,
within a week of launch, to get an inferior game than what was promised. So I'm done on that one.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm just waiting for reviews before anything. I'm not staying in any sort of hype or hope for it. I'm just waiting to see how people think of it.
Understandable. And of course, Star Trek VR, I'm like, it's a VR game. That's going to be the whole gimmick. And if it's a gimmicked game, I'm not interested. Now,
it was interesting because during that they had LeVar Burton, or Merton, whichever their name.
LeVar Burton. Yes, that's what you want to do is get Geordie LaForge to sell you on feeling like you're a blind guy because you have to wear a visor.
I have to wear a visor.
That's good. Well, it's the VR, so you have to wear a visor. So yeah, it's there you go. That's good marketing. I'll give them, but it's like that when you have to do that to sell the gimmick's dead.
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just got to bring in those big names.
Right. So that's the other on. And then the real right down the middle one for this for me that gives 2 good and 2 kind of is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Mega open world Ghost Recon worries me because Ghost Recon, that's all spy-like. Well, not really spy-like, but that's one of those tactical shooters. It's very heavy on stealth. It's very heavy on completing your objective with minimal imprint. But then you're adding the open world, and that's just been done. And I don't know if
I didn't. It kind of just looked like more of the same to me.
Right. I don't know if Ghost Recon can survive another game.
I've never been too crazy into it, like as far as the.
I used to love them. I used to love all the. You had your squad, and you were sneaking around the environments to deploy people where you needed them, and it was a great team game. It was one of the few team games I got into. But that worries me.
Last thing, real quick, was the weirdest thing for Ubisoft was the fact that they ended on a snowboard game, like a snowboard down mountain race or general sports game. It just felt like such an odd note for them to end on. It wasn't anything like that. You feel like that could be like a mid-point or announcement and gameplay trailer. Not just something to end on, because you generally want to end on something strong. Like, if they want to put out, For Honor or put that near the end or something like that.
There's a weird sort of strength to that, though, because we really haven't had a good extreme winter sports game in a long time. So if they could even get an inside-the-park double, you know what I mean? Not even a ground rule double where it goes over the wall, just an inside-the-park double on this, it's going to look good. And they're going to do well.
I mean,
and
graphically it looked nice. And some of the ragdoll effects when you crash were hilarious looking, sure, but it's just a snowboard game. I can't see them doing a lot to make that.
Well, the club
crazy.
Or whatever that driving game was so hotly anticipated, and all it was racing. It wasn't even realistic racing. So it's just sometimes just the idea of what it could be, graphics-wise and play-wise, is enough to carry it. So, and last thing I want to mention, we got about a minute for our first set of record time, is the Viking battle game For Honor that you had just mentioned that you wanted them to end on. That looks great. I'm real excited. I know they're going to drench it in open world, and it's going to wind up feeling like Far Cry by the time it's done.
Really?
That's the impression that I got. I don't know. They say it's a battle game, but I don't trust Ubisoft not to be like, but you can go to this zone after you do all this. So we'll see. I could be talking right out of my ass. It is. Yeah, you never know, but I hope not. I hope it's, I hope I am. I hope it's good. But so we're gonna go ahead and
let's cut it right here.
We're gonna take our first break, which obviously, as always, you guys aren't gonna notice. So we will be right back. And we're back. So we just got off Ubisoft. Like I said, they had a lot of 50-50 overall in their selections of announcements, but I mean, I still think overall they've got enough in their bag of tricks to have a good year coming up. So let's move on to our pals at Sony.
Right.
So
the final big one of the conference sections.
Well, that's day one, yeah. So let's start with the biggest God no moment for me. I know, and then I want, we're gonna go in a little bit of reverse order because then I'll get your doughy, happy youngin' guy response, which is Resident Evil looking like Silent fucking Hill. Yes, I know we're trying to usually keep it clean and PG, but that warranted that word. They made it look like Silent Hill. Or that Outlast game.
Actually, to me, it basically looked like the original trailer for PT, the first game that had the Norman Reedus guy. Or not guy, Norman Reedus. Hideo Kojima's game before it was canceled.
Well, yeah, and
that was Silent Hills.
And of course, yeah, he's got his own Death Stranding thing that he's going to do with them.
Now,
yeah, that's fine.
It's nice to see that Kojima was able to get back into good stridings with.
He was going to land somewhere. That was not
with. Who were they working with before, or with?
Konami, I believe, was the studio.
No, not Konami. No, when they were working on PT Silent Hills with him, there was another guy, horror guy. I can't remember his name.
Del Toro.
Del Toro, yeah. Del Toro, I believe, was talking somehow about...
Guillermo Del Toro.
Yeah, that's right. He was talking somehow about, he was kind of, not interested in working with games at this point after the shitty working with Konami and how that turned out. So, it's glad to see that he should be back in with this for...
Yeah, Konami is
right. So,
Konami is shooting itself in the foot rampantly, and if, once they can't coast on Metal Gear anymore, they're done.
Right.
It's just, that's sad. But let's get back on topic of Resident Evil. And that is, I really hope they pull a major rabbit out of their hat, or even though it's titled 7, it's some kind of soft reboot.
Well, from what I understand, the thing they showed and the demo that was released was, again, just a demo. And it wasn't going to be like how it is in the main game, or that the demo itself wasn't going to be a part of the main game, and it was kind of a standalone but still related thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that they're jumping back, or they're pulling back from that heavily action-based crap that people were getting more and more tired of.
Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that there is that return to
horror,
kind of on your own horror element. I just don't like the fact that the game feels like it's set in 1945. But that's the big deal, and hopefully it's better. Hopefully we get some more information soon, and we see what they're doing with it. Because, if you look at certain parts of the police station Resident Evil 2, it looks older than it is. If you really want to see a difference, look up what they always jokingly call Resident Evil 1.5.
Well, I mean,
where it's early production stills of the original version of 2.
I watched through the actual, or gameplay of the actual full demo. It's not 1945, obviously. There was, a whole tube TV that, you put a videotape into, and it actually kind of takes... When you watch the video, you end up actually playing the video, more like playing in the video.
Yeah, it's
kind of that was kind of neat.
It still feels too old for a game series to be a sequel in a game series that has been built kind of around, even if the environments look old, hyper technology. But that's where we'll leave that because I don't want to burn through that time. So because there's so much more to talk about, and we still need to get to the day 2 highlights for the last major company out there. So another cool thing, just that's all you can really say about it, is Crash Bandicoot getting remastered.
Yeah,
great game. Can't really, if they were Sony's version of Sonic or Mario when he became their official mascot. So
yeah, Crash hit hard for the PS1 as the mascot. Then it went to Jack and
Dexter,
and
Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, those guys hit for a while, and it always seems like they always have a console.
Yeah,
mascot.
there does seem like there is a more directly.
It's never a lasting.
Because then there was
mascot.
Cole McGrath and.
Yeah, Cole lasted for a bit.
Right. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but hopefully they bring Crash Bandicoot gracefully into the new era, and it makes sense.
Yeah, at least with the remaster. I'm hoping the remaster kindles some fires for bringing back Crash in its own right. Because along with that, they did announce that he was also working or going to be added onto the Skylanders series, which already took Spyro from us.
Well,
And
yeah,
not,
Skylanders scares me because they took a beating with their racing deal that they had this last time.
yeah.
And if they don't come back strong, it's over. And if they couldn't get amiibo support to help them out when they had their own Donkey Kong amiibo, if that didn't help, just scores of those were sitting around, Target and Toys R Us shelves for a long time, then I think they burnt their own bridges. Plus, their age group is aging out.
Right.
I mean, though and there's nothing to really keep them coming back because amiibos have the fact they're still, artistic figures of favorite characters. Legos still have the fact that at the end of the day they're Legos. So there's not much keeping. As much as I was hoping amiibos would die first, it looks like, I guess technically Disney Infinity's dying first, but it looks like Skylanders is going to be the next to fall.
Yeah, of those sets of games.
Right. So a couple other things. A new Spider-Man game. There's not much more you can really do with Spider-Man. I mean, it's always going to be open world. It's always going to be Marvel Comics' approach to Grand Theft Auto.
Basically.
And I mean, that's not a bad thing.
It looks impressive.
That's not a bad thing.
So far.
It was a good game. Spider-Man's first movie game was really good and didn't really need the movie license. It could have stood on its own and been a good game.
Spider-Man 1 and 2 have always been pretty highly praised and kind of like nostalgified, it seems like. Especially now that this coming out, a lot of talk has brought that back up. Now
the biggest moment for me was Sony. They've got that other Days Gone thing coming out, but that one I'm reserving judgment on until I see more information on it. I missed the trailer for it, so I can't really speak to Days Gone.
If I remember, if it's the one I'm thinking of, I believe that's the. Let me pull it up real quick. I believe this is the game that kind of looks like a biker version of Last of Us. Yeah, I feel like I'd much rather just prefer New Last of Us, but you're getting it isn't Last of Us because it's normal zombies. It's not like clickers and this.
It's not fungal zombies.
Right. I need a drink.
All right. Well, I'll take over for a second until you get yourself composed here. But basically the biggest moment. The biggest moment for me, and I'm gonna kind of talk here for a minute while you step away. Basically, the notion that I'm gonna take away from this is that they've got a chance to do something really cool here with the last game I want to talk about, and that is the newest God of War. And the reason why I say that is they've made it Norse, and I know there's going to be people like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, it does. A lot of the Norse gods line up with the Greek gods. It all makes sense to where they could do something with that, and they could make it pretty cool. Yeah. So that's what I'm waiting to see is what they do with God of War and how they tie it in and how Kratos is reborn in the Viking era.
God of War looks really cool to me, and primarily because I'm a big fan of Norse mythology in general. I find it really interesting, and sorry about that, guys. I'm just a huge fan of Norse mythology, so going there, I'm going to be really interested in seeing, the gods he fights and things like that.
And of course, he's got that sweet beard.
Right, the beard is epic.
Yeah, come on.
As well as the fact that he somehow has a son now that he was able to, I guess, conceive at some point now.
Well, there is a mini game where you can bang Aphrodite, so I'm sure there's always a chance he could
have some sort of kid.
Yeah, he could have some sort of kid. So at the end of the day,
it seems like it'd be interesting for
At the end of the day, that's the one I'm the most excited about out of Sony's camp. That's the one I'm the most excited about is God of War. So
yeah, we had that. There was Horizon Zero Dawn, which looks pretty cool. Got a new trailer for it. The more it kind of gets shown, the more it almost feels like a Ubisoft game in a weird way.
Because it's all open world with no real substance.
It seems like that basic overworld kind of game. I don't know about no substance, but I'm not sure what all it's gonna do. It has this cool premise of these robotic dinosaurs and monsters and stuff coming alive that you have to have this primitive technology or like primitive outlook as you kind of go out and hunt these things. It looks interesting. Looks like it's got a cool thing, but the longer it just sits, the madder I get on it. Kind of like I'm just kind of waiting for it. Like other things are coming out that are looking more exciting, things like that.
Right. So let's.
Oh yeah, one real quick. We got a release date for Last Guardian finally on October 25th.
There we go. So let's finish up with the Norman Reedus game, the Death Standing. That's going to be good. It's a Kojima game. He's a god of game making. He's going to, if he can get even a tenth of Norman Reedus's acting range for dramatics into this game, it's going to be at least a tonally great game.
Right.
So maybe not everything else may be lacking, but it's going to have that tone and that feel.
Right.
So let's.
There's very little to go off of so far. We had a very odd trailer or announcement for it, but yes, I'm still really interested to see where that goes. But from there,
so Call of Duty Infinite War still trying to be won over with the fans because the fans revolted with the whole future.
where are we at?
We're out of the first day, which was the major announcements. So now I'm just kind of picking things before we wrap up because we're going to wrap up with Nintendo.
Okay.
Because of something I said a little bit ago. So,
All right, that's
Witcher Gwent spinoff.
I never played too much of Gwent, so
Well, yeah, but it's cool that something from that game gets another life. It's a way to broaden the game
because a lot of people really love Gwent. I mean, I'm sure if I sat down and played it more and collect more of the cards, I'd enjoy it. But yeah, God, I got such a dry throat after the the flea market last weekend.
Yeah, but let's speed this up. Maybe we can actually get out of here a little early because we're getting in the final 15 minutes. Couple quick hits that should be interesting. Persona 5 gameplay looks good. I mean, it's a fighter. What do you expect? Or fighter type. Persona 5.
I never got too much.
I always feel it feels like a fighter to me, even though it's an
pretty
RPG.
Popular.
I know I'm thinking of something else, and I'm sorry. Death's Gambit. Side-scrolling game. It's a pick 'em on whether or not it's going to be good or bad. But yeah, the God of War game is really going to be interesting based on some of the other quick hits here we're looking at.
Oh, I see Death Gambit.
Gravity Rush 2 is going to be interesting. Ever Oasis, I think's kind of been that whole thing's been overdone. So it looks like another JRPG type. And it's on the 3DS, which has a lot of those. So I think it's going to get lost in the shuffle. It's going to feel samey for people working through 2 or 3 others before they even get to it. So that's kind of catches you up on some of the bigger notes that I can see from everything else.
I didn't see Death Gambit before, but looking at just this little GIF of it, this looks pretty cool.
So now we're at an interesting thing, Nintendo. And I wanted to bring this up last because Nintendo and I aren't always friends, as I like to say. Because I was talking about this last time. The Wii U, yeah, they're going to survive forever on just their core games. But the Wii U was not what they expected it to be because of the gimmicks and things they promised us that we were supposed to have for it. Not only did we not get, they've now basically confirmed we're not getting on Wii U. So they claim, but if you follow Nintendo's history, yes, they announced Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but I don't see that being a Wii U title. Or if it is, it's not going to be the main system it's released for.
From what I understand, it's going to be kind of like Twilight Princess, where it's going to be on both. I believe it was meant to be a launch title with the NX, whatever.
Right.
I don't. Is that what it's still called, or is that?
I don't remember I can't remember the Nintendo Treehouse stuff that well.
I don't think they ever announced a new thing or a new actual name or release for it. But yeah,
it's not my list, so.
Right. I figured that'd be up there.
So.
God, I'm so sorry, guys.
The ideas here are this Legend of Zelda game, which looks great. I mean, not perfect. It still kind of has that slightly cel-shaded look to it.
The look looks fine to me. The gameplay looks... I think the biggest thing is going to become the problem for me with Breath of the Wild, which, while it looks cool and I like the open world nature of it, I feel like it's going to be too open world. You know what I mean?
Right. Zelda doesn't work with being this big. I mean, what made it great is it was a dungeon crawl game. You did your dungeons, you got to Ganon, and it's over. If you can get lost in the shuffle on that, it's over. And I think that's going to be a problem. I think people are going to get lost in the shuffle. They're going to not care as much. And that is going to hurt them in the end. And when it does, it's going to be terrible. So, oh, Fireheart had to walk away again, guys. Sorry. I'm going to wrap this up. It's a little early. I actually expected us to go overtime, but not really because I think we kind of blew through everything great. So while Fireheart's gargling a little bit more, trying to get over his little sore throat he got from that trucker he went in the bathroom with. I'm kidding. You're on mute, so they didn't hear you. Defend yourself. He admitted to everything, guys. I'm kind of scared to be around him now. All right, I'll unmute him.
I'm sure that probably caught that on your mic. So.
All right. Anyway, before we actually have to put an explicit tag on this, let's stop. But here's the thing: Nintendo didn't come out of the gate swinging as hard as they needed to justify their existence or why I should care about the NX. I really think we needed, even if it was just a hardware reveal for what they expect it to look like. Not even playing, just here's what the system's going to look like. Because that tells me they're going to go for this big surprise reveal like a week before launch. Nobody's going to know what to make of it. They're going to remember all the recent problems system-wise, and it's going to be another dump.
Yeah, probably something like that. Basically, it seems... in a similar thing we were talking about last week of how people were... or they were putting out trailers for stuff, early on to catch that news buzz before E3 drowns it out.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that might be what they're trying to go for here. Delay that information until they can put it out in their own event whenever they choose to with their Nintendo Directs and stuff that they've always been doing recently.
Well, yeah, that's been keeping people interested.
Yeah, and again, not a bad thing in any sort of right. It basically just seems like that's their plan of they're going to wait till then, put it out then, where it can just sit in its own news, have that hype, and garner more attention. Which, if that works out for them, smart move. I can't necessarily fault them on that, but if anything, maybe they could have announced when that direct, if that's a thing that they're going to do. Maybe they could have announced at E3 when is this next direct going to be.
Nah, I don't even think they were going to do that. I think it goes back to this notion that I don't think they have as much in their bag as they want us to think they do. I think they knew their back is getting against the wall. They needed something to buy them time, so they trotted out whatever they had ready to go on Zelda because they know they can dangle that carrot for another good long while to get people to go, oh, you're right, I forgot how much I love you because you're going to give us Zelda. Finally, we've been promised it forever, however long the hell the Wii U's been out, but and for before, but but we're going to finally get it now. Oh, wait, you have nothing else? Oh, you have a new Pokemon?
Yeah, it was it, and early on in the Nintendo Treehouse stream, a gameplay of Pokemon. Which it's Pokemon.
Yeah, you're not gonna do anything ground shaking.
At least they're breaking grounds with Zelda with this new style, but Pokemon is Pokemon. You're not changing much.
Right. It is what it always is going to be, and that's what's hurting the most about this. And would you stop sliding that on the floor? If I'm picking it up in my mic, they're going to hear it. Such unprofessionality, as I say, hitting keys on my phone. Anyway,
I can't imagine they've been heard, but anyway.
I'm watching the bar pick it up. That's why we have this on big display.
Anyway,
behind the scenes at the Nerds at Night show, Brandon's not paying attention.
You're taking more time than this needs to be. Anyway.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
By just continually answering, you took more time. All right. This is actually wildly entertaining me, but I'm sure we're boring them. So that's it for E3. All in all, definitely some solid hits for me. I mean, being the grumpy guy that I am, Ubisoft, especially with Watch Dogs directly, they really gotta make something that looks as good as that demo or their host.
Ubisoft needs to hit strong with Watch Dogs. It basically cannot falter, or else they're screwed. Maybe not screwed, but
that game will get trashed horribly if it doesn't look damn near pixel for pixel quality wise for the reveal demo,
to it,
they're gonna burn it down.
They're gonna eat shit.
Right. They're
South Park is their other hope. So far.
South Park is their. This is why they won't go under if this fails. Is South Park will save them.
Yeah, because I can't. After how well with the writers behind South Park, behind the game, I can't imagine them getting or screwing up Fractured But Whole at all. Like I can't see it being
right. And the
bad.
word of mouth on Stick of Truth was excellent. The reviews were excellent. A lot of people bought into it just because they heard from others how great it was, and that's going to be, if it's even as good as that, it's going to at least get them through. It may not be a home run, but it'll offset at least most of the hurt if Watch Dogs takes another bath. So that's
right.
Ubisoft, I think, is the one that's been the most intriguing. Nintendo has done more to prove that they're losing touch.
Nintendo, cool game, need more. That's about it.
Nintendo is the Vince McMahon of gaming right now. We almost made it through. We made it through 40 minutes without a wrestling reference. But it's true. It's like CM Punk said in his Pipe Bomb promo, Nintendo's a millionaire company that should be a billionaire company, in the fact that they won't get out of their own way. And this was one of those instances. They didn't get out of their own way. They didn't learn their lesson about gimmicks. And rather than make a tight, powerful, not even as powerful as the others, just tight, powerful, focused on gaming game system, we got nothing that we can really trust. And because of that, I think it's going to hurt them. I think Nintendo's going to have another bad run with consoles. And while they'll make money forever, I think that might make them start looking at, well, we can make a ton of money. We put a Mario game on PlayStation, money's in the bank.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? But that's all speculation. There's nothing to say that they won't keep making systems just for the funsies of it because they can afford to. Right. So, what was your most impressive and your least impressive trailers?
Good question. I know this is going to kind of muddle up what we were just saying, but honestly, the trailer for Zelda really did look pretty cool. Like I got to give it its credit. I like the interactivity that we do have with the Zelda world. Like, instead of picking up hearts, you're actually finding food off the ground that you can then eat or cook into better food that will heal you, as well as give you like stat buffs and stuff. You can chop down trees for resources, as well as to use them for bridges across chasms. There's 1,000,001 different ways you can actually go about playing the game, fighting or going through dungeons, beating bosses and things like that. It seems interesting to be seeing how people play the game.
But let me ask you this. Is too much interactivity going to cause it to lose that mystical kind of light fun that, even though they were monstrously in-depth games story-wise, were relatively simple to play, and that's what kept you coming back through the frustrating parts? If you have to worry about finding food, if you have to worry about building stuff, do you think that's going to take away from what made Zelda great? Because it's not like this is a new concept. This has existed in 1,000 other games.
Yeah, it has.
So they're tacking on old hat.
Yeah, it has. Not even like changing it up. I do worry like if it's just going to feel like a chore.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Zelda. What makes Zelda great is it's not a chore. Repetitive sometimes, but not a chore.
Right. Like you have these fairly contained but still open worlds. You have your story, your set path. Here's your goal. Head down there. You can branch off. You get your access with your items to go back to places and things like that if you want to, but you don't have to. It's a mixed bag of hope and concern, I suppose. But we'll see how things go, I suppose. All
right. Well, that to me is the end of this episode. E3 all in all, like I think we're both in agreement that there's some things we're looking forward to. I know next up for us on the YouTube channel is going to be the first brother versus brother showdown of me versus Fireheart in our game of choice, because I'm a wrestling fan at heart. and because I like embarrassing him at old school games, we're going to play in honor of their death WCW versus NWO Revenge. And we're going to see how that shakes out for me and Brandon and see who wins. Of course, as always, the winner will enjoy victory, and the loser will enjoy himself the gamble of
the jelly beans.
Of the jelly beans of doom. So, for Nerds of Night Gaming, I'm DJ Thunder.
And Fire 47.
And we'll have a good night. So, we'll see you later.